All right, hello everyone for the recording. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever you're watching this. My name is Peter-John McDermott, as it's said here. I'm a second-year medical student, and I'll be taking you through, on behalf of the New Jamaica Foundation, a CSEC Biology Paper 1 marathon. Now, I don't expect this to go on too very long. So yeah, let's just get started. All right, so to kick it off, we're gonna start with June 2015, right? And let's just get into the first question. So first question says, item 1 refers to the following data recorded by students who observe some organisms in their natural habitat. And you can see a table here with regards to the organisms, the features of the organisms. And then it asks which organism is most likely an insect. So I'll give a bit of time. Okay, so they asked which organism is most likely an insect. So what are the characteristics that they gave us? Number of body segments, number of legs, presence of wings, and color. So number of body segments. How many body segments do we typically know insects have? Well, what we typically see is arranged maybe one to maybe two body segments. For insects, typically are 1 to 3. The number of legs, around 4 is a typical answer, and presence of wings with 1 pair. We typically know that insects would have wings. For the color, insect color, well, black insects is a typical thing, but in line with what we've been looking at before, I would most likely say A is the correct answer here, because it's kind of in line with what we know the typical characteristics of an insect is. If we're to give an example of an insect that even were to look like this, you guys might be able to come up with an example. You guys might be able to come up with a better with an example, but so far so good. So yeah, so we can move on to which of the following organisms occupies the 4th trophic level in the food chain below. So 4th trophic level. So this is the food chain, goes cabbage, caterpillar, small bird, hawk. In terms of trophic levels, 1st trophic level would have cabbage, 2nd caterpillar, 3rd small bird, 4th hawk. So 4th trophic level, hawk. So the following relationships may present harm to one of the organisms involved. Keyword here, harm. The keyword here is harm, right? So in terms of presenting harm, what are the relationships that we have to discuss? We discuss commensalism, parasitism, predation, and mutualism. So if we're looking at which of the following relationships may present harm, what do we have to look at? So if we're talking about commensalism, what does commensalism mean? Commensalism means that two organisms are, well, let me give an example. There's an egret and an oxen. So the egret uses the oxen like for ticks and stuff like that. So it eats the ticks off the oxen, and in return, the oxen provides like protection from all the things that could potentially prey on the bird, right? So that's an example of commensalism. In terms of harm, we don't see any harm in that per se because they're both benefiting. Parasitism, example of that is flea and a dog, maybe. What do we notice there? We notice that only one organism is really benefiting, and that's a flea. The dog is not benefiting in that relationship and could actually be exposed to diseases, hence harm. Predation, what's that? One organism consumes another. For an example of that, what can we say? Maybe a human eating a chicken, right? So one organism, the chicken, would be coming to harm in order to satisfy the predatory organism, the human, right? Mutualism, both organisms are benefiting each other in a complete way like that. An example of that is well, I know that there's a small fish in the ocean that almost like a cleaner fish that cleans the sharks, right? So that's mutually beneficial, right? So the shark is getting cleaned and the fish is getting food. So they're both mutualistic. So which may present harm to one of the organisms involved? I would say 2 and 3 only. So what's that? C? Okay, so let's get moving. All right. All right, that was kind of a long explanation. So next, item 4, which is the following apparatus, it shows an apparatus using for collecting organisms, most suitable for collecting slugs. And that's just something that I guess you have to know. Which of the following organisms are most important in biodegradation, sorry. All right, let me give some time for that. All right, so most important for biodegradation, typically we say microorganisms. If we're to look, vultures, omnivores, earthworms, those are all microorganisms, so they're all pretty big, right? Versus bacteria. So most important for biodegradation, typically say bacteria. Show the following gases does not contribute to the greenhouse effect. So 10 seconds. All right, so when we're talking about greenhouse gases, you know that we include methane, we include carbon dioxide, and we include chlorofluorocarbons, that's CFCs. Methane, of course, you know, can come from like cows and things like that. Carbon dioxide, burning any kind of carbon containing material like trees. And chlorofluorocarbons, those are aerosols. What's not included there? Carbon monoxide. Another example of a greenhouse gas, water vapor, right? Replanting trees on a bare hillside is an example of afforestation and restoration. Bare hillside, first of all, replanting. So you're putting trees back that were there previously. So that's how the reforestation comes in. Forestation, that's just planting, putting back what was once there. So reforestation, you're replanting the trees. Restoration, you're restoring the hillside to how it was before. Which of the following factors contribute to increased population size? All right, so when we look here, what do we see? Ability to resist disease, inadequate water supply, too much or too little light, small number of predators. So, I mean, when we even think about it logically, because as I said, we have to be thinking about everything logically, right? So, ability to resist disease, of course. If you're able to resist disease, then you're able to reproduce. If you're able to reproduce, then, you know, population is going to increase. And let's look at small number of predators. If you have a small number of predators, more of your population reaches adulthood and sexual maturity, and you're able to again reproduce. So that's the important thing there. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So 1 and 4. Inadequate water supply. If you don't have enough water, water is essential to life. So if you don't have enough water, you won't, a lot of the population will not continue. Too much or too little light. Typically when they use the words too much or too little of anything, that's typically not the correct answer, right? Because they don't typically work on extremes. So too much, too little, that's an extreme. So even if we didn't know inadequate water, too much or too little light, that just sounds wrong, right? So 1 and 4. Next, when compared to a cheek cell, a muscle cell contains more. All right, so let's think about that. So cheek cell, muscle cell, those are both animal cells, just specialized for different functions. So we look at the different organelles that are here, vacuoles. So cheek cell versus muscle cell vacuoles. I wouldn't say that's typically what we'd want to say in terms of the specialization, because I mean, what would be the purpose of muscle cell containing more vacuoles than a cheek cell? Ribosomes. You could put up an argument for a muscle cell containing more ribosomes than a cheek cell. Why? Because of course, muscle protein synthesis would of course occur in a muscle. But when we see the next answer, mitochondria, and we know that a muscle typically has to shorten and lengthen, and that requires energy, and that energy is provided by the mitochondria. We realize that that is the best answer by far. But honestly, don't have to look at the next answer, chromosomes, because all the cells in your body, cheek cell, muscle cell, all cells in your body, except for your egg and your sperm, the somatozones, they all contain the same amounts of chromosomes, right? So, which of the following label structures are responsible for controlling cellular activities? 5 seconds. All right, so when we look here, what do we notice? We have some different organelles here, right? So this is kind of a strange drawing to give, but we have to try to work with it. So let's look and try to identify some organelles. So 3, this is of course a plant cell. We can tell, well, first of all, they tell us, but we can also see the very prominent cell wall, the very fixed shape. We can see things such as those. All right, so what do we notice? This is the large central vacuole. So 3 is off the table. 4, honestly, 4 looks like it's the nucleus, but let's look onwards and check. 2 looks like it could maybe be a chloroplast, and 1 looks like it could maybe be a mitochondrion, right? So if I were to go with anything, I would say 4, and let me check. 10D. Oh, they're saying 10 is B. I would go with 10 as D, right? I would go with 10 as D. But this is kind of a tricky drawing, but so it's kind of up to interpretation, but yeah. Of course, if you're thinking of these 1 and 2 as organelles, the nucleus is bigger than those two. So again, that's another reason why I'd go with 4. Which of the following label structure is not found in an animal cell? That's a 2, assuming that 2 is a chloroplast. So B. By which 2 processes do the dissolved minerals from the soil move into the roots of a plant? Give a bit of time. All right, so do the dissolved minerals from the soil move into the roots of a plant? So what are we noticing? What are we noticing? What are the keywords? Because we always have to be looking for keywords, right? Dissolved minerals from the soil. Dissolved minerals is the most important thing here. Talking about minerals, diffusion. Diffusion is typically for gases. Minerals, solid, dissolved implies water is present. So diffusion, so we can rule out A. Let's skip B for now. Diffusion, again, we can rule out C. D, transpiration pull and osmosis. Transpiration pull, I wouldn't necessarily say transpiration pull, because transpiration pull and osmosis, nowhere there does it account for the dissolved minerals. Processes require active transport and osmosis, right? Transpiration pull, osmosis, those are just water related, but you need active transport to get into the minerals. Next, autotrophic nutrition does not occur in, so give a little time. All right, so this question is pretty simple when you look at it, right? Autotrophic nutrition, autotrophs. What's an autotroph? Autotroph is an organism which produces its own food. Producer, what organisms do we know are producers? Any green chlorophyll containing organism, right? So does not occur in moss. Moss is green. We've all seen moss before. Green food producing organism. Skip zooplankton for now. Tomato plant, we know that tomato plants contain chlorophyll. We know that it's a typical plant. Blue-green algae. So maybe the word blue is there to actually trick you, but green, it's green as well. Algae is a type of plant. So autotrophic nutrition does not occur in zooplankton. Zooplankton is, you have 2 types of plankton, zooplankton and phytoplankton. Phytoplankton is the plant, zooplankton is the animal. We do not have autotrophic nutrition in animals. So B, zooplankton is incorrect. So let's do the next one. So look at this diagram for a second. And then it says, if the bubbles given off by the plant were collected and tested, the gas present would most likely be, so we have to look here. So give a bit of time, maybe around 5 seconds for this. Right. So we can continue. So if the bubbles given off by the plant were collected and tested, the gas present would most likely be. There's a reason why they said most likely, by the way. There's a reason why they actually said most likely. It's very important. So when we're looking at which process are we looking at here, by the way? Anyone can answer. Which process are we examining here? We're at number 14. Does anyone know? All right, we're examining, pardon me? We're examining photosynthesis, right? Can anyone remind me of the equation for photosynthesis? All right, the equation for photosynthesis. So what we're looking at, if you remember from the previous lecture, previous marathon, what we talked about, where it said that CO2 plus H2O is going to go on and give us C6H12O6 plus O2. So remember what we had said, in front of everything, there's a 6. So 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O, except glucose, and we get 6 molecules of oxygen as a result, right? So what gas is most likely to be present? If we're to look here, hydrogen, no, nitrogen. Hydrogen and nitrogen are not given off by the plant. It said testing the bubbles. Hydrogen and nitrogen not given off by the plant. Oxygen is perfect. Oxygen is what's given off. Carbon dioxide is what's used. So what's contained in the bubbles would be oxygen. Next, the intense yellowing of leaves is most likely due to a deficiency of 5 seconds. Just drop answers in the chat, guys. All right, let me give a little help. All right, so what color is a leaf typically? That's the first question.
Green, sir.
So a leaf is typically green. What causes the leaf to be green?
The chlorophyll.
And what is, remember the last session that we had? What's the inorganic ion that makes up chlorophyll? Yeah, perfect, magnesium. So again, easy peasy, guys. Let's move on. All right, so next one, 16. So you can read, refers to the following table, shows the results of the food test performed on 3 food samples. So what can we see here? X, violet color, sodium hydroxide, copper sulfate. Y, blue-black precipitate with iodine. Z, orange precipitate when heated with Benedict's reagent after hydrolysis. So I'll give you guys a bit of time. This is just food tests. Oh, you quick, man. All right, so yeah, drop answers in the chat, guys. Drop all your answers in the chat and we'll see what's going on. All right, so 16. So you guys said D, right?
Yes, sir.
I agree with you. All right, so violet color when heated with sodium hydroxide and copper sulfate. What's that actually? What's that combination called? Can anybody remind me what the protein? What's that reagent? What's that reagent called? Does anybody remember what it's called?
No, sir.
Honestly, I can't remember either, but I just wanted to know if you guys could remember. So if someone could just look that up for me while we just continue. But I think it has a specific name, so just in case I use that name. So yeah, D. Next one. Blue-black precipitate with iodine. That's a test for what? Starch, you guys are saying?
Yes, sir.
Orange precipitate when heated with Benedict's reagent after hydrolysis, and we're saying that's non-reduced in sugar.
Yes, sir.
Are we sure it's not reduced in sugar?
Yes, sir.
Why? What would be the color if it was a reducing sugar? I think it's brick red or something like that. But yeah, let's continue. Excess amino acids in the diet are A, passed out in the feces, B, converted to fat and stored, C, converted to urea in the liver then excreted, D, taken directly to the bladder for excretion in urine. Five seconds. All right, guys, just drop some answers in the chat. Hello, you guys there? You guys can just send some answers. I just want to see where you guys' head is at. It's not about being perfectly accurate. So even if you guys get it wrong, I can always help you out if you get it wrong, but you know, just have to send some answers. Yep. So what do you guys think? A, B, C, or D? We're at 17. So let's see, C. Everyone says C? All right, passed out in the feces. What's typically passed out in the feces? I think, what name? I think you, yeah, but I think you have some, I think you have some vitamins that are passed out in the feces and urine as well. Converted to fat and stored. Why couldn't it be converted to fat and stored, guys? Well, it could, but why is the answer converted to fat and stored not as good as C?
Not sure, sir.
All right, so all right. All I'm saying is that's just not what you typically do with amino acids. So amino acids and fat, they just have a completely different, yeah, amino acids is protein, fat is, you know, related to you have your
Lipid.
your triglycerides and your fatty acids and stuff like that, right? So yeah, so they're just different compounds. So they're just typically, it's not as good of an answer. Converted to urea in the liver then excreted, that's just the answer. And D, taken directly to the bladder for excretion in the urine. No, if you're peeing proteins, you have a problem. A man has poor night vision and his gums bleed whenever he brushes his teeth. Which two vitamins are most likely lacking in his diet? 5 seconds. Bonus points if you can tell me what condition he has. For this. Yeah, perfect. He just has night blindness. That's his, he has night blindness. So vitamin A, what's another name for vitamin A? Just type it. What's another name for vitamin A? Just in case I put it. So vitamin A is also called retinol. And vitamin C is also. Anybody know another name for vitamin C? Anybody? Yeah, just in case they put stuff like this instead. So it's not completely confusing thing. So another name for vitamin C is ascorbic acid, right? So let's type that. Yeah, so great. So, right. So notice they put C and then A. So, you know, they switch it around. So, you know, if you're looking for A and then C. But honestly, you know that B kind of has nothing to do with these things. So yeah, let's continue. Surface area of the lungs is greatly increased by the B. Sure it's not D? Yeah, you're correct. It's B. So I was just kind of like messing around. So double membranes of the pleura. Pleura is just the outside of the lung. The kind of like, I don't know how to put this. What the lung is in, like a bag. You know, if you were to put lung in a bag, that's what the pleura is. So that doesn't increase, that's not our respiratory surface. So we can't say it's increasing the surface area. Large number of alveoli. Alveoli, that's literally the respiratory surface of the lungs. Large number of alveoli means a larger surface area for respiration. So yeah, large number of alveoli, perfect. Dense network of capillaries. What does this help with, guys? That actually helps with gaseous exchange. Yeah, sure. It helps with gaseous exchange. Because if you have a lot of capillaries there, you have a lot of opportunities for blood to get in and out. And if you have a lot of capillaries as well, when you're talking about fast transport, if you guys know how diffusion works, right? So if you constantly have that gradient going because you keep on carrying away all the oxygen and thing that's going across, you're gonna end up having a lot of oxygen going across that going into those capillaries. Branching of the bronchioles, no. The alveoli is the respiratory surface, which I find is an effect of nicotine found in cigarette smoke. 5 seconds. All right, yeah, so you guys are very smart. So let's check it out. Increased heart rate. I think nicotine increases your heart rate. But let's look at the rest. Increased beating of cilia. Don't think it actually does that. Increased beating of cilia. People that smoke typically typically have a lot of mucus in their lungs, right? So I would think that it does not increase the beating of cilia. Reduce oxygen transport by the blood. Nicotine is a vasoconstrictor. So I mean, nicotine makes your blood vessels get tighter. So I mean, I would assume that would lead to less oxygen less oxygen transport. Increased mucus production in the cells lining the respiratory passage. That I'm not actually sure about, but increased heart rate just sounds like a correct answer to me. So I'm gonna go with that. Guys, look up if nicotine actually increases the heart rate, because I think it does. But yeah, I don't know of any effect on the mucus producing cells, but yeah. Someone just look that up for me, please, and then just tell me. 21, which is the following. Yeah.
And
What do you
so
say?
looking at it says increase blood pressure, increase heart rate, increase the narrowing of the
Yeah,
arteries.
vasoconstriction. So mucus production. This one, mucus production. So let's look up this one. All right, so let's move on. 21. Correctly defines the blood vessels. 5 seconds for this, guys. Guys, you just be flying through this exam. D. So you guys said D. All right, guys. So arches have. All right. Let me see. What you guys say? Oh, all right. I'm gonna tell you how to distinguish them. All right, guys. Look at this. All right. Let's ask this. Let's ask it this way. So arteries return blood to, or arteries take blood to or away from the heart? Away. So think about it this way. If you have a pipe, right, and you have a pump, the heart is a pump, and you're gonna be squeezing a bag, you're gonna be squeezing a bag of fluid into that pipe. Does the pipe need to be thicker or thinner? Because of course it's gonna be under high pressure. So does it need to be thicker or thinner? Thicker. So are arteries thicker or thinner than veins? Type it in the chat. Thicker. Yeah. So which one here is thicker? 1 or 3? Which one is thicker, 1 or 3? So 1 is the artery, and which one is the vein?
3, sir.
Perfect. So let me tell you about capillaries. Capillaries are, first of all, 1 cell. They're 1 cell thick. Wait, let me skip some stuff. All right. So there's 1 cell thick. So this is about 1 cell, right? Looks like about 1 cell thick. And that's pretty much it for capillaries. But because what needs to happen, capillaries, things need to be able to cross them. And if all of this was outside, you would not be able to cross them. So if you guys want to, you guys just make a table, make a little table, and write down the little distinguishing factors between arteries and veins. So if you want to write arteries versus veins, you put arteries, blood is under high pressure, veins, blood is under low pressure. Arteries have thick walls, and they also have more layers to their walls. So there's like 3 layers, about 3 layers. Veins only have like 2. If we're veins have valves, arteries don't. Things such as that. Things that they can ask. Capillaries, 1 cell thick. Things can diffuse across them. Stuff such as that, right? So there, yeah, everything is suited to its function. So if we know that, so the lumen is just a space, right? Lumen, space, same word. So if we look at the lumen of this, the vein, lumen is bigger for the vein, lumen of the artery is smaller. So the space of the artery is smaller than the space of the vein. So that's another way that we can distinguish them. But yeah, all of this, by the way, is just muscle. It's just muscle tissue. This is just muscle tissue. But if we're distinguishing them, this muscle tissue is actually thicker than this one. So if we notice this is thicker than this is, things such as those. And this part is thicker than this part, right? So things like that. So that's how you distinguish them, by the way. So what's the answer? You guys can just send it in the chat. Still D, good. All right, which of the following components of blood could surround and engulf pathogens? All right. Let's give a little bit of time. You guys know these blood cells, by the way? Just tell me if you know what they are from now. B? Okay. All right, so what's A? What's B? What's C? What's C? Erythrocyte. It's erythrocyte. Yeah, erythro just means red blood cell. The word cyte just means cell. It's cool. It's cool. What's D? Platelet, correct. Or anybody know fancy word for a platelet? Just type it in the meantime. Thrombocyte, perfect. So function of a monocyte. I don't think so. What's function of a monocyte? Hmm?
So I'm not sure about that.
All right. Function of a phagocyte. Pretty sure they just make antibodies, but
Produce antibodies.
yeah. What's function of a phagocyte? What's function of a phagocyte? Is anyone talking? It's here, surrounds and engulfs pathogens. Yeah, like in the question. Function of erythrocyte.
Transport oxygen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it, pretty much. Function of a platelet.
Form clot.
Yeah. Monocyte, I think a monocyte is just for antibodies, but unimportant. All right, next question. Formation of blood clots.
Platelet.
Yeah. See? All right. Immunization is most effective in controlling the spread of a communicable disease if what? So let's check. Uninfected, serum administered, uninfected, vaccine, infected, serum, infected. What do we think? A. Anybody? Anybody else? Guys, let me see some answers in the chat. Just drop answers. All right, cool. Let me see some more. Again, guys, this is a learning experience, so believe me. Yeah, so let's look at C. Yeah, but believe me, if you get it wrong, you'll just remember. That's good. You have to like getting stuff wrong because When you get it wrong, you're gonna remember it, trust me. Immunization most effective in controlling spread of a communicable disease. Let's think of a communicable disease and let's think of a vaccine. Let's think of COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2. And let's think of COVID, and let's think of the vaccine. Let's think of the AstraZeneca, the AstraZeneca vaccine, right? So do we give COVID vaccines to people that have COVID? No, we don't give COVID vaccines to people that have COVID. Yeah, right? Serum, that's just a word. Yeah. All right, let's not go into that. But no, it's not serum, it's a vaccine, right? Not serum, it's a vaccine. So if we're trying to control a communicable disease and we have a vaccine available, how we're gonna control it is with a vaccine, right? Which of the following statements not true of the xylem of a flowering plant? All right, let's go, guys. 5 seconds. And this is kind of perfect on how to answer multiple choice. Pardon me, repeat. All right, you're gonna have to type in the chat because I really can't hear. All right, let's start. So it is non-living, true or false?
True, sir.
Everybody agree? Oh, what do you say, B? All right. So everybody agrees that it's non-living? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So I'm seeing an answer that says A. So a xylem is just a straw. It's a fancy straw, right? That's all it is. As far as I know, no straw has to be alive to do its function. Xylem is non-living. It's literally just a straw. Like, if you think about it as a straw, it's literally a straw. So it's non-living. If it's non-living, lignified walls for support, that's true. Xylem is under a lot of pressure, so it needs lignin in its walls. Remember this word, guys, lignin, Lignin, Lignin. I don't know if you guys have done that. I don't think I did that at CSEC, but yeah, lignin in the walls of the xylem. Transport water and mineral salts, we know that that's true. Guys, the phloem living or non-living? The phloem.
Living.
All right, yeah, good. So contains mitochondria. If it's not alive, it's not going to contain mitochondria. Things that are alive need mitochondria. Which of the following are reasons why transpiration is important to plants? 1, 2, or 3, 5 seconds. Contains mitochondria. So B. C, A here. D, we're seeing D. All right. What else? We're seeing A. All right. So let's look at the. All right. I'm not even gonna approach this in terms of like biology, but let's read the responses. Water and dissolved minerals are transported to the leaves. That sound like a biology kind of answer. Yeah, it sounds biology like to me. The leaves are cool. That sound like it could have make sense. Yeah, that sounds like it could make sense to me. But when you see unwanted water is excreted from the leaves, you start questioning, why would it not want water? Why is the water unwanted? Like, why did they use the word unwanted specifically? So sometimes I don't even, honestly, when I have questions like this, sometimes I don't even think about, oh, maybe, you know, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. I think, why would they use that word specifically? Or I think, why would they phrase it like that? Sometimes it's just even in the way that they phrase it, you can tell that things are not as perfect as they may seem. So that I would go with 1 and 2, right? So yeah, I would go with 1 and 2. I wouldn't go with 3 because why are they saying it's unwanted? Why would it not want the water? So 27, part label X is what? What's this called again? Oh yeah, all right. D. You guys have to know this for CSEC. All right. What are we looking at here?
Phloem.
What's this called?
The seam.
Yeah. Perfect. What's this in the phloem? What's this in the companion cell?
The nucleus.
The nucleus. Companion. In the phloem itself, are there any mitochondria and nuclei?
Sir, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, that's why it has a companion cell. Perfect. Food is stored in the bulb of an onion plant. 2. 5 seconds, guys. If you're unsure, think which one creates the least doubt in your mind. Which one of these creates the least doubt in your mind? So 5 seconds, guys. Just drop some responses. I want to see where your heads are at. So I'm not just telling you how to do bio specifically, but I'm telling you how I answer my multiple choice questions, because all my exams are multiple choice. So drop some answers in the chat. Come on, guys, 5 seconds. Let me see some responses. Yeah, just drop an answer. It's fine if you're not sure. Just send something. Which one do you think makes the most sense? Because it's not like you can not answer, so. You always have to have an answer. If it's not correct, sure, that's fine. But you just need something you can work with. And even if it's wrong, you need to back up your answer. So you need to have a reason why you chose that answer. Okay, so you have a reason. Anybody else? Guys, just send some answers. Just send answers. Just send answers, guys. All right, no one else? All right, let's go through it from the top. So why do you guys not choose A? Provide food for humans.
Sir, that is kind of logic, but
Do you think it's logical? Why would the plant want to provide food for humans? The plant doesn't care about us. Plant cares about itself. So no, it's not A. The plant doesn't care about us. The plant doesn't care about providing food for anybody, right? Let's provide for the growth of new plants from the buds. Anybody know how to plant an onion? How do you plant an onion? (28B). All right, let's skip that for now then. Prevent the plant from having to photosynthesize continuously. What do you guys think about that? Yes, continuous. You always photosynthesize. So you have food or not, you're photosynthesized. As long as the conditions are, yeah, it doesn't sound right as well. So as long as the conditions are right, you're gonna photosynthesize. Also, it does not sound right. So I like that you said that. If it just doesn't sound right, it just doesn't sound right. So yeah, great. Next, provide food for developing embryos in the next growing season. So that one sounds that sounds like it could be right? So B or D. So let's check. Provide for the growth of new plants from the buds. So let's check. That's why I was asking, does anybody know how you plant an onion? Because I don't know how you plant an onion. But if I were to decide one, I would say, what would I say? Provide food for the embryos in the next growing season versus provide for new plants from the buds. I'd probably say, what would I say? I'd probably say B. Honestly, I'd probably say B. Because D just sounds kind of awkward. Because why would they say in the next growing season? First of all, food for developing embryos, sure. But in the next growing season, that sounds like something extra. But I have an answer sheet, so I'm just gonna check it. I don't think this answer sheet is correct, but so it's between B or D. So it's whatever you guys want to choose. Yeah, B makes sense to me, kind of, but D just seems kind of convoluted to me. So between B or D, you guys take your pick. Look, I think my answer sheet is wrong. So which of the following would represent a form of excretion in plants? What would I go with? I would probably go with B if it was me, but again, 1 mark out of 60, not gonna kill you. But which one of the following would not represent a form of excretion in plants? Gases diffuse into stomata, tannins being stored in dead tissue, water vapor diffuse into epidermis, stored calcium oxalate crystals in leaves during leaf fall. C. All right. So you say you're not sure. So reread the question and think which one of these is actually excretion. Reread the question, form of excretion in plants, and then you'll get the answer. Again, a lot of this stuff you don't have to really know. A is, so let's go through. A is, let's reread B. You know what B is? You know what tannins are? Okay,
No,
so let's
sir.
skip B for now, right? So let's get to C. You know what water vapor is?
Yes, sir.
Is that excretion?
Yes, sir.
Let's look at D. Leaves. Do leaves typically drop their leaves if at some point or another?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they do. So we know that the leaves typically fall off, right? Calcium oxalate crystals. I don't know if leaves have calcium oxalate crystals in there, but what do I know? I do know that leaves do fall eventually. So that being compared B, which I know nothing about, versus D, I know leaves do fall. Maybe they do contain calcium oxalate crystals, maybe they do, but I know that they do fall. So A, I know it's definitely not that. B, I know it's C, I know it's definitely not that. D, I'm not sure, but I'm more sure that B is wrong because I just don't know what it is than D. I do know what it is. Tannins is what used to make leather. So tannins are in animals, by the way, not plants. But I was approaching it from the standpoint of I don't know what's going on and I have no idea. So even if I didn't know, gas is diffusing through stomata. I know for a fact that that has to be excretion because you're excreting, what are you excreting? The gas. Stomata, what has stomata? Plants. Know that. Tannins, I don't know, skip. Water vapor diffusing through the epidermis. Sure, sure. Water vapor is what's being excreted, plant, sure. Stored calcium oxalate crystals in leaves during leaf fall. I don't know if leaves have calcium oxalate, but I do know that leaves fall. I've seen leaves on the ground before. I've seen leaves all around trees, and I'm guessing those leaves have calcium oxalate crystals. But I do know that that would technically be a form of excretion. But tannins, no. So I'd say 29 is B, right? So next, although glucose is found in the blood plasma, it does not appear in urine because of teacher gave you C, water vapor diffusing through the epidermis, or 30. For which question? Oh, all right. Yeah. All right. So let me explain it to you. Oh no, I wouldn't go with C. Tannins have to do with leather. You can look it up, but I don't know. Water vapor diffusing to the epidermis. That might actually be a kind of funny question. That might actually be funny, but look it up. It's not a problem. Just look it up. 30D? No. All right, let's talk about 30. In the meantime, look it up and tell us. But although glucose is found in the blood plasma, it does not appear in the urine because of osmosis. Does that make sense? Osmosis? Everybody?
No.
Yes or no in the chat? No, right? Because glucose is not water. Secretion? No, it's not secretion. Let's skip ultrafiltration for now. Selective reabsorption. Everybody knows how a nephron looks. Gums, tannins, oh, my bad. All right, so I thought tannins were, let me look. Give me a second. I'm pretty sure tannins are found in animals.
Sir, and calcium oxalate is found in animals.
So, yeah, tannin is in animals. Oh, yeah, so they are in animals as well. Oh, so they're in plants and animals. So, yes. All right, so, all right, I guess C, sure. I guess the problem is the word epidermis. I wasn't really looking, so. Yeah, so I guess 29 is C. But yeah, apparently tannins are in plants as well. So plants and in animals. But so I guess it's C, yeah. But yeah, good job, guys. Always ask me, always question what I'm doing. But yeah. All right, so for 30, guys, remember I'm not really a plant guy, so for plants, you might have to help me out. So ultrafiltration, all right, so let's think about it. Actually, we don't really have to think about it. I wouldn't necessarily, all right, so thing about that is, how would I put this? I wouldn't necessarily put selective reabsorption. Why? Because glucose does not make it out of the glucose doesn't make it out of the glomerulus in the first place. Wait, honestly, give me a second. I'm gonna think about it, guys. Yeah, it's either ultrafiltration or selective reabsorption. So I'm thinking maybe it's D, right? Because ultrafiltration is a process by which you'd be getting out of the glomerulus, right? So maybe D. I probably say D. Let me check my answer sheet. Yeah, I don't know why I've not been checking it. They say C, but I don't know. I don't really trust that. Ultrafiltration. Selective reabsorption. It doesn't make, all right. So let me give you guys what's true, what I know to be true. Glucose does not, and then you guys can decide on the yeah, that's correct. So it's D. Yeah, that's correct. All right, so what is it that doesn't make it out of the glomerulus? Do you guys know? Seeing as we just confirmed that glucose makes it out, what does not make it out? What if you saw it in your urine, would you be scared? Like blood. So red blood cells. Protein as well, correct. Yeah, correct. So anything large doesn't make it out. You're correct. You're correct. I guess I just forgot. Yeah, glucose gets reabsorbed at the PCT. So you get like pretty much 100% glucose reabsorption. That's why but people with diabetes have a problem with, you find glucose in the urine, but you really don't find glucose in the urine. Your body prefers to have, well, no, glucose in your urine is really just an aberrant thing. All right, guys. Yeah, protein, red blood cells. That's correct. So let's continue. Foreign corrected. Pardon me?
So the answer is D.
Yeah, selective reabsorption. Ultrafiltration, no. So yeah. If I could show you guys an example of a nephron. You guys know what a nephron looks like, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys, let's look at a nephron really quickly. So right here, let me just describe it really quickly. Yeah, correct. It does. So this is the glomerulus. Is a proximal nephron unlabeled. All right, guys, what's this?
That's in the screen.
You guys can't see?
No, sir.
All right, let me reshare. You guys can see now?
Oh, yes, sir.
All right, what's this? Glomerulus. What's all of this unit together? What's this?
Sir, I don't know where it would be on that side because the proximal tubes are supposed to be
No.
somewhere.
What's this? What's this? This red thing.
Sir, artery or something.
It's not. It's an arteriole. But which one is it? Do you guys need to know how to label this?
Sir, not again.
No.
No.
Not really.
Oh, all right. Let me just tell you then. Afferent arteriole, efferent arteriole. This is your proximal convoluted tubule. Why is it called that? Proximal just means near. What is it near to? It's near to this. So it's the proximal convoluted tubule. Why is it convoluted? Because it's all twisty-turny. This is just your loop of Henle. This is just your descending limb. This is your thin ascending limb. So it's a hairpin loop. Thin descending, thin ascending, thick ascending, goes into your distal convoluted tubule. Distal just means far away. So distal convoluted, so it's far away from what? It's far away from hair. This is what you're collecting tubule. So just in case you guys ever have to label it or you guys have to know what it means or whatever. So yeah, so where's glucose reabsorbed? Most of it is reabsorbed here. Yeah.
Okay.
Which of the following correctly describes movement in plants? A, B, C, or D? 5 seconds. You guys sent answers in the chat. C. Yeah, I'd say that as well. Which of the following advantages does the ability to move about give to the chicks compared to the seedlings? What do you guys think? Let's check the chat. So what are you guys saying? Oh, all right. Sorry. All right, cool. All right, so I would say A, less competition for space and access to a variety of foods. All right, so yeah, good job, guys. So we're speeding through, yeah? After a few days, the tallest shoot will most likely be, or be the tallest shoot, guys.
Sir. What was the answer for 32?
I would say A, less competition for space, access to a variety of foods, and opportunity to use more energy. Just doesn't sound like a correct thing. Yeah.
Sir, I don't know because I have an answer key and they gave me B, and the reason why was that why would plants want to access a variety of foods? Like they already make their own food. That would be more for like the animals. So I'm not sure.
Does the ability to move about give the chicks, but give to the chicks?
Their ability to move would give them the access to a variety of foods.
Yeah, so that's why A. That's why I'd say A.
Wait,
Yeah.
hold on.
The answer key is not always right. I have an answer key too, but it's not always right. So we're good?
Okay, yes, sir.
All right, cool. Yeah, don't always trust the answer key. Trust yourself, guys. Next one. After a few days, the tallest shoot would most likely be 1, 2, 3, or 4. What's the difference between 3 and 4, guys? We know that you need the light to grow, right? We know that growth occurs at the meristem, which is at the tip of the shoot. What else do we know? So we're looking at here. When that growth occurs at the meristem, which is at the tip of the shoot, and it also needs light to grow. So that's why I'm asking, guys, what do we think is the difference between 3 and 4? Because the answer has to be either 3 or 4, because this one doesn't have light, this one doesn't have the tip. So what's the difference between 3 and 4? Anybody giving an answer? Oh, 2. I wouldn't say 2, because remember, growth occurs at the meristem, at the tip. So if the tip is removed, then growth. All right. So difference between 3 and 4 is that 4 has a cap. 4 has a cap. So the growth might be restricted. So I'd say 3. Yeah. So all right. So let's look here. So what do we see? Biceps, skin affine. It's just a simple some kind of reflex circuit, I guess. Why not A as well? All right, let's look at A. So what's the difference between 1 and 3? Foil cap. So what does a foil cap cause? I don't think light can get through the foil. So yeah, it's that. Numbered structures are 1, let's look, 1, 3, 2. So I think they're trying to label the nerves, quote unquote, as an effector. Oh, no, no, you need, all right, so think about 1 versus 3. Which one do you more think would grow? 1 versus 3. Yeah, that would more go with 3. Yeah, you're saying it can occur in the dark, but remember where growth occurs, remember where the auxins are concentrated. So it can still grow, but growth won't be what we oh no, you just have to match it out. That's what I do, just kind of match it out. Numbered structures 1, 3, 2. So what do we think? So what do we think is 1? All right, let's start with 2. What do you think is 2? But wait, let's go back.
Is the effect?
Did say tallest. Yeah, I would think this would be the tallest. I would think 3 would be the tallest, the one that doesn't have anything impeding its growth. I would think that would be the tallest. Oh, all right. So here's the problem. All right, here's the problem. This light is off to the side, right? Yeah, this light is off to the side. Think of the light as just being above, pretty much. But think of it, the light as being above. All the lights are the same for all of them. So they all, if they were all to grow, they would all grow in the same way. If they were all to grow, they would all grow in the same way, because all the lights, yeah. See, there's no difference in the lights. The only difference is in the exposure to light and the tip being present or not. Yeah, the cap, that's the weird thing. So I'm guessing the cap is preventing the growth. So, because there has to be a difference between 3 and 4, right? So I'm guessing the cap is just to impede the growth. Just as that. Like, why would they give something like that? It's kind of weird. But yeah, I'll just go with the thing that's not that has no impedance to growth. Yeah. So let's deal with this. Let's start with 2. What's 2?
The effector.
2?
Oh, receptor, sorry.
What's 3?
Relay anywhere.
What's 1?
The effector.
All right. How do we know the difference between the effector and the receptor? What's the effector? All right, so the effector is just what's actually doing the action. So biceps muscle, everybody can do this, right? Biceps brachia, everybody can do this. Shorten and lengthen your biceps. That's an effect. That's, you think, hey, your brain says, okay, biceps move, you're able to move. So skin of hand. So if you were to get a burn on your hand, because your biceps everybody can see me, right? See what I'm doing. All right, so if you were to get a burn on your hand, say right here, biceps response, but skin of the hand, receptor, that's where you're feeling the pain, that's where the pain is going in. Biceps, effector, because it's responding to the stimulus, right? So that's the difference. Relay neuron just transfers the information. Nothing too very complicated about this. This question, I don't know if you know this answer. I wouldn't have known this answer when I was doing CSEC. Vital centers for the control of heartbeat and respiration are located in the. But if you guys don't know, I'm going to tell you how you can know it without having to actually know anything. If you don't know, guys, just guess. Yeah. Yeah. So you guys know. All right. Tell you how this works. Cerebral hemispheres and cerebrum are the same thing, pretty much. Not really the same thing, but I want you to think about it. Just think they're the same thing. So it can be A and C. Cerebellum is not concerned with heartbeat or respiration. Cerebellum is concerned with movement, pretty much. Movement and balance, right? So medulla is concerned with all these things, heartbeat, respiration, there's another word I'm looking for that I cannot find. Stuff having to do with your vasculature, right? So stuff like that. So yeah, that's what your medulla is used for. You guys have to know, you guys know your brain and stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah, good. So let's look at this. Which defines a long-term effect of alcohol abuse? Slurring of speech, increased urination, cirrhosis of the liver, dilation of blood vessels. Which of these is different from the others? C, perfect. Cirrhosis of the liver. Yeah, long-term alcohol abuse causes cirrhosis, increased urination, slurring of the speech, dilation of blood vessels. Those are all what?
Short-term.
Those are all short-term effects. Yeah, perfect. Maya's reading a book. When she looks out the window to focus on a tree, the lens in her eye becomes what? Let's think about that. I'll go with A or B, by the way. Fat or thinner.
He's like, I'm not quite sure, but I would say B.
So you guys said B? Yeah, I think it's B.
Yes, sir, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's B. Has thin out to I think it has thinner to focus on farther objects, and it gets wider to focus on near objects. But yeah, which structure is not involved in temperature like regulation? 1, 2, 3, or 4. Let's look. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, yeah. So which one is not involved in temperature regulation?
4.
4 is a blood vessel. Is it? Is it? Or 4 might be.
The gland.
Is that a gland? No, isn't this a gland? Isn't this a sebaceous gland? This is the hair. Oh no, this is the blood vessel. This is the blood vessel. This is sebaceous gland. What's this? What's one?
Oh, the erector muscle.
Erector pili. Let's think. Probably, yeah. I know you guys would have to know that. 3 is a blood vessel, so yeah. So what do you think 4 is? Honestly, I'm not sure. 4 might be a sweat gland. Yeah, 4 might be a sweat gland. So which one of these has nothing to do with temperature regulation so far? Yeah, I'd say 2 as well, sebaceous gland. 3, of course, we know that blood vessels have, blood vessels associated with temperature control. 2, sebaceous gland, no. Erector pili, sorry, no. What did you call it? The erector muscle controls if the hair is standing up or if the hair is lying flat, conserving heat, standing up, losing heat. Sweat gland, sweat, get rid of heat. Part labeled 1 represents the
hilum.
The hilum. What's this?
Testa?
Yeah. From the graph, it is true to say that. Let's look at the graph. This embryo is increasing, this endosperm is decreasing in terms of dry mass over a length of time. So what do we think for 40? I would say the embryo begins to grow as the endosperm decreases in mass. So let's look at that. D. Embryo grows, the food reserves are gradually depleted. Everybody agree? Or disagree? Which of the following, everybody agree or disagree or anything?
Sir, agree.
All right, good. Which of the following statement is true for both methods of reproduction? Let's look here. What do we notice here? This is an amoeba. This is dividing. We get 2 amoebas, and this is a flowering plant. So what do we know? What's true for both?
C.
Yeah, I think so too. But this and this are the same thing, essentially. This is not true for an amoeba. I would go with C as well, but feels kind of strange. Which one divides by meiosis, by the way?
The amoeba.
The amoeba. I would say the flowering plant, because you have to get your ovaries, your gametes. So I'd say the flowering plant has mitosis and meiosis. For the amoeba, I'd say mitosis, because I think amoebas I don't think amoebas show much differentiation, or maybe they do. So maybe it's mitosis and meiosis. But let's continue. event taking place at X is, what's that called? Growth, dispersal, pollination, fertilization. What's that called? X.
Fertilization.
All right, it depends on how you want to think about it, because X, we can say that this is pollination, right? So is this the pollen tube that has, so it depends on if this is the pollen tube that has grown down and actually fertilized the ova, or if we, or, because that's why I don't like these diagrams, because you don't know if this is the pollen tube or if this is just actually the start for the pollen to go down. So I think I would go with fertilization as well, but for that one I'm not so sure, because you can see some interaction occurring down here. Oh no, you can see this and this. So yeah, I'd probably go with fertilization here. Next one, which substances should not move in the direction shown by the arrows labeled X? X, which way is X? X is going this way, from mother's blood to placenta. So from mother to fetus. So what should not move from mother to fetus? Oh, label X and Y. So what should not move inward? Which one of these doesn't belong for 43?
D.
Yeah, D looks weird. I don't think you'd want these in a developing fetus. All right, so next, 44, a method of contraception that protects against both disease and pregnancy is?
B.
B. Fertilization normally occurs in the?
C.
Oviduct. All right, perfect. What's another name for the oviduct?
Fallopian tube.
Yeah. Some fruit seeds. In which of the following is each fruit of seed matched with the correct method of dispersal? Let's look. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just zoom out.
I'll go with D.
D? All right, let me think. Man, this has to be, this is R. Why you say this is animal?
Sir, I'm not sure because I know that the C, the tomato. So.
Have you ever walked somewhere and you get the burr on your pants, the stuff that kind of sticks to your pants? This is the same thing. So that's why this one says animal. So when the animals are passing, it gets stuck to their coat. Same thing. D, man, yeah, that makes sense. People eat tomatoes and then go and do whatever. Wind, you need something light. You need something really light for wind, and these pollen grades are small and light. 2, mechanical, yeah, we can just go with that. We should follow in, so 47, 48. An organism which causes a disease. Which one causes a disease?
D.
Pathogen. Animal which carries a disease causing an organism but is not adversely affected.
B.
Repeat. For 48. B. What is a parasite? In simple terms, anyway, you know how, what's a parasite?
It's blood or something.
Sure, organism that feeds off another organism in a kind of like one beneficial party kind of relationship. So only one party is benefiting. Give me an example of a parasite.
Leech.
A leech? That's what you said, a leech? If you said a leech, then sure. Yeah. Host. What's a host?
Like the organism that has the pathogen, like is affected.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, sure. Which may be affected. Vector, typically unaffected. Give me an example of a vector, please. Mosquito. What disease is the mosquito a vector for? There's many. Just list off. Dengue. Malaria.
Yellow.
Chickpea. Yellow fever. Yes, I think, yeah. Yeah, I think. Which of the following methods would be most appropriate for the treatment of chronic hypertension? Diet, exercise, vaccination. Which one?
A.
What's hypertension?
High blood.
High blood pressure. Can you get a vaccine against high blood pressure? No. So anything with 3 is wrong. So species consists of members that?
D.
D. Infertile. D.
No, sir.
Okay.
Sir, C then.
See the A or C. I would probably go with A. Occupy the same habitat. A or C. I'm not 100% sure which one I would go with there. Because C, to be in the same species, I think you have to interbreed to produce fertile organisms. Fertile offspring, right? So interbreed under natural conditions, other things interbreed. So I would probably go with A if that was me. On a certain Caribbean island where sugarcane is grown, a fungus accidentally introduced, destroys, which of the following best describes what happened? A, B, C, or D?
D, sir.
How is sugarcane reproduced? Yeah, I'd go with D as well. But how do you grow sugarcane? I think you grow it from cutting. So yeah, D makes sense to me. Wait, so if it's D, why couldn't it be B?
Sir, the hardy word.
But doesn't hardy mean the same? Yeah, I'd go with D as well, but I was just putting that in your mind. For diploid organism has 2 different alleles for the same gene. It's described as being
C.
heterozygous. So following process will result in a genetically identical offspring. Genetically identical, guys. Yeah, clone. What's a clone? What's a clone? Yeah, genetically identical. Which the following completes the diagram at 1, 2, and 3. Let's look at 1. Let's look at 1. So what goes here? All right, let's do that one last. What goes here? It's the 2. Let's do 2 first.
RR.
Letter R, correct. If we assume 1 to be what? If we assume 1 to be, well, we know it has to be this or this. So if we assume 1 to be a big R, right? This would be a big R, little r, right? So could 1 be a small r?
No, sir.
Why?
Because they say that 3 is a big R and a small.
Perfect. Which of the following terms refers to the viable characteristics of living things? Visible, sorry. I think this is, yeah, this is literally the exact definition that I gave last time. Hemophilia is a sex-linked trait caused by recessive allele, which of the following are reasons why the disease is expressed in more men than women. All right, let's answer, guys. What do you guys think the answer is? I would say D. Do you guys think that's correct or not?
Sir, I don't understand the 3. Look at 3.
Remember, women have 2 X chromosomes, true or false?
True.
Remember what we're saying when it comes to men have 2 X chromosomes, true or false?
False.
What do men have?
X and Y.
Remember what we said? A woman can be a carrier, right? For hemophilia. True or false? Remember when we said that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's all this is saying. So even though you might have 1 recessive allele, you can also have another dominant one, which is actually masking it. So that's why 1, 2, and 3 is the answer. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, great. Natural selection can be defined as a process by which natural population what's natural selection, guys? Remain well adapted to their habitat, compete with their, you said B or D?
B, sir.
B, remain well adapted to their habitat. So let's look. So natural selection can be defined as a process by which organisms mutate in order to survive or remain well adapted. So compete with other populations for survival, I wouldn't necessarily put it as other populations. It's competition within the same population. Gradually bring about changes in their habitats. It's not changing their habitat, it's change is within them. Remain well adapted to their habitat. Sure. But mutate in order to survive. That could also be an potential answer. So let's see which one it is. Remain well adapted to their habitat. If it was me, I'd probably go with A. Let's check. So what the answer key says. Is it? No, so I don't use these answer keys. So I don't use these answer keys. Mutate in order to survive. Natural selection, typical. Oh, it doesn't involve mutation. Yes, it's B. It doesn't involve mutation. It's just picking favorable characteristics. So yeah, the answer is B. So which of the following is true about the process of artificial selection? I would go with B. You guys think that's correct or not? So artificial selection. Artificial selection, you want to breed two animals, you find a trait that you like. So if we're talking about a cow, you want to breed a cow that produces a lot of milk with a very strong bull so that you can have strong children, right? So that's the process of artificial selection. Let's continue. Which of the following have contributed to the many antibiotic resistant strains of bacteria present today? What do we think about 59?
Sir, D.
I would go with D as well. All right, so next one. Which of the following would be involved in the production of insulin by genetic engineering?
Sure about this one.
All right, let me tell you how this works. So insulin, when you want to produce insulin, mass produce it, you use bacteria to produce it. You need something to transfer that gene, the gene that says you should make insulin, into that bacteria. What do you use? You use a vector to do that, right? So the vector is what would carry the gene over into the bacteria and give the bacteria that ability to make insulin. So the vector that we typically use is a virus, by the way. So we use a virus and we transfer over that gene into the bacteria, and then the bacteria begins to make insulin. So using the human insulin gene, that's the gene you're transferring, a vector, which is a virus, to transfer the insulin gene. You need something to bring the insulin gene into the bacteria, and then production of insulin by the bacterium. So 60 is D. So let's do we maybe have time for like one more. So we can do 2020.
What did you say 60 is?
60 is D.
Okay.
So let's just do 2020. Let's just go through this one quickly. Which of the following characteristics is used to distinguish insects from other arthropods? Let's just run through these really quickly, guys. Which one looks the most correct? Can you guys hear me? Are you guys typing in chat? Oh. So number of legs, agree or disagree?
Agree, sir.
All right, living organisms such as plants are affected by abiotic factors. Which of these is an abiotic factor? A, B, C, or D? Let's try to move quickly. B. Oh, you had said shape before. Let's look at number of legs. So number of legs is just a typical distinguishing feature. Hairiness, color, shape, those aren't really distinguishing features. The distinguishing features are number of legs, segments, presence of wings, stuff such as those. These are non-specific. Energy flow through ecosystem is not 100% effective. This is because energy is I think I told you guys this last time.
A.
Yeah. On which trophic level can herbivores most likely be found?
B.
Correct. Commensalism is illustrated by the relationship between
C.
I told you guys this. What's D?
Parasitism.
What's A?
Parasitism.
What's B?
Sir, I don't know.
I wouldn't necessarily call it. That's more like parent and child. I wouldn't call it a relationship per se. How many complete food chains are there in the food web shown below?
3.
3. Let's move on. Which defines the main advantage of recycling? Main advantage.
B.
B. 50 grams of a fresh sample of soil is repeatedly heated at 110, cooled in a desiccator. The final constant weight is 35 grams. Cell component eliminated by this procedure is most likely
Water.
what temperature does water boil at?
100.
What temperature are we heating it to?
110.
So we're boiling off the water, right? So water. Which define our effects of pollutants on coral reefs in the Caribbean?
Not sure about it.
More branching corals. Let's think about it. Is pollution going to make the coral grow? This is pretty much saying coral growth. Is pollution going to make the coral grow? Coral is a living thing, by the way.
No, sir.
Yeah. Less reef fish, true or false? Less reef fish, true or false? Well, we know that 3 can't be the answer, so anything with 3 is wrong. So we can just choose A and move on. Which of the following practices may be used in the conservation of or restoration of an ecosystem? What do we think? Which one of these things just looks wrong?
Three
looks wrong to me too. So I'd say the answer is C. Which of the following factors most likely account for the change in population size from January 1980 to January 1989? Let's look at 1980 to 1989. Huge dip. So what do we think? Why do populations go down? 1, 2, or 3? 1, 2, or 3? Is increasing contraceptive use going to make the population increase or decrease?
Decrease.
Influenza, is that going to make the population increase or decrease?
Decrease.
Decrease in fatal crimes, increase or decrease?
Increase.
Yeah, increase. So 1 and 2. So 1980 to 1989, decrease, right? Which of the following organelles is directly involved in photosynthesis?
B.
Function of the mitochondria.
Provide energy.
Function of the cytoplasm.
Chemical reaction.
Perfect. Function of the nucleus.
Contain information for controlled selection.
Yeah, Any of those? Good. Phloem structure. Sorry. Generalized plant cell and animal cell.
D.
D. Chloroplants are in animal cells. Role of respiration is the
A.
A. Why not B? This just can't be B. Why you want to absorb oxygen? What? These are not important. B and C are not as important. A is the most important role of respiration. Breakdown of carbohydrates. Why not D? It's because why are you breaking them down? You break them down for the release of energy. Cool? That makes sense? All right, which of the following correctly identifies and describes the process occurring above? What do we see? What's the answer for this?
B.
B. Which of the following best describe the nucleus of the cell?
D.
D. Let's move a bit quicker. Following substance not necessary for photosynthesis.
C.
C. What do we need for photosynthesis? What's the equation?
Water, carbon dioxide, energy, and chlorophyll.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So water, 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O in the presence of energy in the form of light gives you C6H12O6 plus 6O2, right? So you need chlorophyll as well. Light, energy, water. You don't need oxygen. After absorption by the ileum, excess glucose is immediately converted to says excess, by the way. How do humans store glucose? What kind of granules are located in the cells of animals? In the animal cell, what kind of granules are there? Guys, remember glycogen granules? Yeah, glycogen is how you store excess glucose. Energy during cellular respiration, it says excess. So you'd already have enough energy. So this is just what you do with the excess. Which of the following is optimum for the action of salivary amylase? Let's think about it. Guys, let's look at it. Salivary amylase. Think about your mouth. For 18. 18 is B. It is B. For this one, we have B. All right, yeah. So salivary amylase. So what's normal human body temperature?
36.
Yeah, around 37 degrees. So 30 to 40. We're thinking about your mouth, by the way. Saliva is in your mouth. So 30 to 40. What's the temperature in your mouth?
Sir, at 30 to 40.
Yeah, 30 to 40. What's the pH in your mouth?
7 to 8.
Yeah, it's a little bit above. It's a little bit above normal. So yeah, about that. Amount of maltose produced, 73 micrograms. That part is not the important part. What's important is the pH and the temperature. This is just accessory information. An athlete suffered muscle cramps following his race. The muscle cramps are most likely caused by accumulation of what?
C.
C. Okay, yeah, let's skip that for now. Let's not talk about that. Refers, illustrates. Let's look at this leaf. Let's look at the foil. We test it with iodine, blue, black. So I like the explanation of this result is that the
C.
yeah, it said that too. Yep. All right, which feature correctly distinguishes a phagocyte from a lymphocyte? Says, look, does a phagocyte engulf pathogens? Phagocyte.
Yes.
Yeah. Does a lymphocyte engulf pathogens?
No.
No, it does not. Let's just deal with the rest. Does a phagocyte produce antibodies?
No, sir.
Lymphocyte, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Does a phagocyte have a lobe nucleus?
Yes, sir.
Lymphocyte.
No.
Where's a phagocyte formed?
Bone marrow.
Where's a lymphocyte formed?
Not sure.
They're all formed in the bone marrow. That's where you form all your blood cells. But that's not distinguishing. One has yes, one has no. This doesn't distinguish them. So that's the difference. The region of the tooth sensitive to temperature is labeled what? Let me look. Yeah, which region is sensitive to temperature?
Three.
That's probably what I would go with as well. I'm not very sure what 4 is, but I would go with 3 because that's the most interior part. Which is following, which one of these is a rib?
Two.
2. What's 1?
Trachea.
What's 3?
Alveolar.
What's 4?
Diaphragm.
Yeah. Which of the following activities is not correct for the process of inhalation?
C.
All right, guys, let's think about it. Let's think about it. All right, so inhalation, air has to move into the lungs. Volume of the thoracic cavity has to increase because you have to allow your lungs to be able to expand. Diaphragm muscles flatten. So let's think about that. So how does the diaphragm work? The diaphragm kind of pulls down to enlarge your thoracic cavity. Right. Is this one correct? Ribs move down and in. Wouldn't it move upward and outward because you have to increase the size of the thoracic cavity? So instead of thinking about the diaphragm, which is a muscle, which you wouldn't, I don't know if you necessarily know about that. Maybe think about the ribs down and in. That's decreasing the size of the thoracic cavity, right? Yeah. So I would probably go with A. So which of the following options best identifies some of the transport substances in animals?
A.
Yeah, I would go with 1 and 2 only. Let's look at this. Which of the following correctly identifies the vessels able? This is something you guys have to know. 1, 2, and 3 in the diagram above. 1, 2, and 3. Do you guys have to know this? Tell me if you have to know this.
Yes, sir.
All right, so what's 1, 2, and 3?
One is
One is
a vein.
One is a vein, correct? One is a vein. What's the name of this vein?
Pulmonary.
Pulmonary vein. What does pulmonary mean?
I don't know.
It means lung. It's just a vein coming from the lung. So pulmonary vein is a vein coming from the lung, which is the only vein in the body that carries oxygenated blood. Actually, that's a lie.
Pulmonary.
Yeah, but yeah, it's kind of a lie, but yeah. Well, no, it's not. Yeah, pulmonary vein. So that's 1. What's this? If this is the vein, what's this?
Artery.
And what's the name of it?
Pulmonary artery.
Pulmonary artery. What's this?
Sir, I'm not sure.
This is a vena cava. True or false?
Vena cava.
This is the inferior vena cava, right?
Oh.
This is the IVC because it's coming from the systemic circulation and depositing here. This is the IVC. Let's look at what this is. What's this?
Superior vena cava.
Superior vena cava would be coming on this side, coming in this way.
It's a vein then. No, artery.
It's the largest artery. It's the largest artery. What's the artery that's closest to the heart?
Aorta.
This is the aorta. Correct. What's this? What word do we use to describe the liver?
I'm not sure.
Hepatic. You guys have ever heard that word before? Hepatic. That's the word that we use to describe the liver. So if we're going to the organ, we're an artery. If we're leaving the organ, we're a vein. So what is this?
A vein.
We're going to the organ, to the liver. So what are we?
A vein.
If we're going to, we're an artery. If we're leaving, we're a vein. To, we're an artery. Leaving, we're a vein. So what's this?
Oh, artery.
So which artery is it?
Hepatic.
Hepatic artery. What's this?
Hepatic vein.
Hepatic vein. We're skipping this for now. What are we writing?
Artery.
Yeah. Do you know which one?
No, sir.
So the small intestine is also known as the mesentery. So we're just a mesenteric artery. So you have a couple of mesenteric. You have a superior and an inferior mesenteric. But right here we're just a mesenteric. It's not asking you anything specific. It's just saying mesenteric. Right here, what's the word that we use to describe the kidneys? You guys ever heard the word renal?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what is this? What artery is this?
Renal.
Renal artery. This is the renal vein. There's no specific thing I can give you for the legs. There's a lot of arteries and a lot of veins going to and from the legs. So let's answer this now. So what is one?
Pulmonary artery.
Pulmonary artery. What is two? Oh, I forgot to say, guys, coming from your small intestine to your liver, you have a vein. So this is the only vein. Well, this is one of the veins in your body that does not go straight from an organ into the bloodstream. It goes from one organ to another organ, and it's called the hepatic liver because we're going to the liver. Portal because portal vein. It's the hepatic portal vein, right? So that's what we're looking at here. The hepatic portal vein. You have other portal systems in your body, but this is the main. This is a pretty important one. So let's look at it. So for one, we said we're the pulmonary artery, right? So what are we for two?
Hepatic.
Yeah, we're the hepatic portal vein. What are we for three?
Renal.
Yeah, but wouldn't we be the renal artery, not the renal vein? Oh yeah, no, we're the pulmonary vein. One is the pulmonary vein, guys. Remember, we were saying it's a pulmonary vein because it's leaving the lungs. So we're a pulmonary vein, hepatic portal vein, and the renal artery, right? So going to the organ, we're an artery. Leaving the organ, we're a vein. Going to the organ, we have oxygenated blood. Leaving the organ, we have deoxygenated blood. Cool? Cool. Person whose kidneys have failed excretory materials blood regularly. This is because excretory materials, what do they do?
Excuse me, there's an answer D for 27.
27, pulmonary vein, HPV, and renal artery. So that's B. Person, why do people get dialysis, guys, for 28? Which one of these just looks like it makes sense for 28?
D.
D, I would say D as well. So accumulate and poison. Make the blood dilute? No, because you have more things being in the blood, so it can be more blood dilute. Raise blood pressure? Let's just leave that alone. It's not that, but well, that's not the answer we're gonna go with. Are not gotten rid of by any means. Yeah, you can pee stuff out. So although you have excretory materials in your blood, you pee them out, you sweat them out. You have other ways, but sorry, kidneys fail, you're not peeing it out, but you can sweat it out, right? Stuff like that. You can poop it out. You have other ways to get rid of excretory materials. So there's other ways. But yeah, accumulate and poison. So you have urea accumulating in your blood and you can go into ammonia-based coma. So let's look at this. Defective heart condition found that the blood flowed from section 1 to section 2. This was most likely due to a defect in the section 1 to section 2. Yeah, all right, yeah. So what's it? So it has to be either the bicuspid valve or the semilunar valve. What's another name for the semilunar valve? All right, guys, let me show you how you remember it. On which side is the tricuspid valve? Right or left? All right, so let me show you remember it. Tri, T-R-I, right. Tricuspid valve is on the right. Mitral valve, mitral, L-L-L, mitral valve is on the left. The mitral valve is the same thing as the bicuspid valve, and the semilunar valve, or the tricuspid valve. The semilunar is a tricuspid valve, right? So is this the right or the left side of the heart?
That's the left.
Yeah, you flip it. So this is the left. Mitral, so which valve are we dealing with here? Bicuspid or semilunar?
D.
Perfect. Write that down, by the way. The following statements describe some of the stages of the clotting of blood. Which of the following correctly identifies the sequence of events in the process of clotting? All right, yeah. So what's the answer? For 30.
C. No, B. Sorry, B.
B. Platelets are activated. That has to be the first thing. You have to activate the platelets for you to get any clotting. The next thing, what do we notice? Prothrombin. Pro in this case just means the precursor of. So prothrombin, so what's there before the thrombin, and then you have to convert that into thrombin, right? So 1, then 3, thrombin is converted to fibrinogen, which is then converted to fibrin. That would come after. The clot has to be the last thing. So even if we didn't know, we know you have to activate the platelets first. And if you don't have thrombin, how can you convert thrombin to fibrinogen and fibrin yet? So that gives us our order. 1, 3, 2, 4. 1, 3, 2, 4. So 31. Why is it difficult to develop a vaccine for the common cold?
C.
Correct. So yeah, remember what we're saying? Viruses mutate constantly. So that's why it's hard to come up with vaccines for them. 32. Which of the following describes the function of the thorns? Guys, like a cactus or something. Yeah, it's a cactus. What's the function of the thorns?
Sir, B.
B, increase surface area. Which one sounds like it makes sense? What's the purpose of maca? What's the purpose of a thorn?
D.
Yeah, when you touch it, what happens? It hurts. So it wards off carnivores. Carnivores?
That's the problem.
Yeah, I was thinking that said her before this whole time. Yeah, so no, not D. Correct. Increased surface area? No. It reduces transpiration. It also reduces transpiration. Because, all right, so when they don't have a lot of stomata, that's the first thing, but when it does transpire, a lot of the water actually gets caught on the surface of the thorns. So the thorn, you see what it says here? The thorn is a reduced leaf. So if it's a reduced leaf, it's going to reduce transpiration. Remember what we said increased surface area does? Increased surface area increases the transpiration, right? So if we're decreasing the surface area, then we're going to decrease our transpiration. Sorry about that, guys. I literally just misread the question. So which of the following rows correctly shows the metabolic substances that are excreted by plants and animals? Plants, animals. Guys, do plants excrete urea?
No, sir.
Plants, remember we said plants have tannins, so that's cool. But do animals have excrete calcium oxalate?
I am not sure, but sir, I think I might have that. But
I think it's D. Funny enough, I do think you actually pee out calcium oxalate. But I think it's D, because remember we were reading a question before that had something about the leaf chop with calcium oxalate, and animals do excrete water. So I would go with D. And you know, you have to, so can you guys look up if animals excrete calcium oxalate for me, please? Just someone look it up for me, please. Which of the following is least likely to be an example of a growth movement in a plant? Least likely of a growth movement. So which one of these is not growth? A, B, C, or D? A. So which of the following statements about the skeletal system is not? Oh, let's just go over that. Closing of leaves of a sensitive plant, that's of course reversible. Downward movement of the roots in the soil, that is growth. Crawling movement of runners like grasses, that is growth. Upward movement of a vine and a rod, that is growth. Which of the following statements about the skeletal system is not correct? All right, let's do it this way. Is A true or false?
true.
Is C true or false?
So false.
All right, let's skip that for now. Is D true or false?
True.
Where are red blood cells produced?
Bone marrow.
Where is the bone marrow located?
Bones.
Bone marrow is in the bone. Bones are part of the skeletal system, true or false?
True.
Yeah, so what's the answer?
B.
B. Which of the following occurs when the arm is flexed? All right, so let's look here. This is what we're seeing here. Seeing what? A biceps, a triceps, brachialis, something there. All right, so what are you seeing? When the arm is flexed. So when the arm is flexed, you can literally flex your own arm. Flexing, going, decreasing the angle, extension, increasing the angle. So you can flex your own arm and just feel your own muscles. So when you flex the arm, what happens? Does your biceps contract or relax?
Contract.
And does your triceps contract or relax?
Relax.
When you extend your arm, does your triceps contract or relax?
Contract.
Does your does your biceps contract or relax? A detectable change in internal or external environment of an organism is a stimulus. A girl smells a hamburger and she begins to salivate, which defines a factor which brings about her response. So she's salivating. What is causing her to salivate? So what is producing the saliva?
B.
Salivary glands. So is it, so what's detecting the stimulus? What's the receptor?
A.
A. What's the stimulus?
C.
What's the response? What's the response?
Salivate.
Yeah, secretion of saliva. So what do we see? I response to looking at an object. The response is most likely brought about by what do we see is happening here?
A.
What did he say?
A.
A. What's happening? Tell me what's happening.
Contracting and
So what's contracting?
the
The what? The what?
iris.
So the iris is contracting. Why is the iris contracting? Because there's an increase in light intensity, right?
Yes.
All right, correct. So 40, the region which acts in a similar manner to SPF creams is what?
Not sure.
All right, let's look. So what are the different layers? What layer is this?
The epidermis.
What's this? I guess that would also be kind of the same thing. What's this?
Germ.
What's this? What's this? Could that be a blood vessel? So SPF, I'd probably say 1 because that's the most superficial layer. So of course that would be the part that's protecting you from the sun. What does this person have? What's their problem? Are they myopic or are they hypermetropic? Oh, it says it. They're nearsighted, so they're myopic. How do you fix nearsightedness?
Divergent.
Diverging, you sure it's not converging? You're correct. Converging would make the focal point narrow. So diverging, you need to make the focal point further back. Many of light rays before entering the eye.
Outward.
Yeah, I would say outward as well. Let me think though. Yeah, outward. So next. Following statements describe the process taking place within a seed during germination. So what do we think?
D.
D, 2, 3, 1. I agree. So enzymes break down the proteins to amino acids. So you have to have breakdown first so that these soluble products can move into the embryo, and then the embryo only then can move the food, can use the food, right? So next, which of the following will be incorrect on the y-axis? This is a growth in living organisms graph. So yeah. What typically goes on the y-axis and what typically goes on the x-axis? All right, let's put it this way. What do we typically notice about things on the y-axis versus on the x? In general, what do we notice? Does anybody care? All right, so on the y-axis, when we notice things are not very constant. So you can have a lot of variables. So you can have one measurement being 1, the next one being 1.753, the next one being 10, next one being 11.5, things like that. It's pretty variable, right? While on the x, you tend to have a pretty constant. It tends to be a pretty constant deviation, right? So when we're thinking about things that are variable, what do we think? Mass, pretty variable. Length, pretty variable. Number of leaves, pretty variable. Units of time, pretty constant thing. So units of time, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes. So that would typically go on the X. The rest of these could go on the Y, right? Which of the following is true for both flowers? What do we think? D. Yes, I agree with you. All right, let's move quickly. Amnion is labeled what?
IV.
4. I agree. What is this? I should know. What's 3?
The umbilical.
Yeah, the umbilical cord. What's 2?
Tendinal.
Pardon?
Is it a placenta?
It's kind of a weird diagram. Not actually that sure. This is the amnion, yeah. So what would 1 be? Oh, 1 is just the 1 could maybe be, because this is a uterus, right? So 1 could maybe be the wall of the oviduct. But it's kind of weird. It's weird diagram to me. But I think 2 is probably placenta. Placenta is labeled. What's the placenta labeled?
2.
Yeah, that's my bad. I shouldn't have said it. Which of the following is not a consequence of plant or human disease? Guys, think about everyday life. When you're sick, which is not a consequence. Which of these does not happen?
A.
A. One method of controlling the population of mosquitoes is by getting rid of all stagnant water. Which stage of the life cycle does this control?
B.
B. Give me ways to control the adult population. fogging, sterilization, things such as those, right? Production of new organisms from one parent only is known as
B.
B, which are the following forms of birth control. Nice. Which of the following forms of birth control is likely to be the most effective?
A.
Think again.
B.
C. You know what tubal ligation is?
The cutting of the ovary.
Yeah. So if you cut it, there's no real way. Well, let's not say that. It's gonna be very hard for the egg to be able to get into the uterus to be implanted. Yeah. It's not the ovary, it's a fallopian tube. So let's find a picture of an ovary. Of a uterus. So this is the oviduct, right? Ignore the baby. Yeah, it's cutting the fallopian tube. So if we cut the fallopian tube around here, then the egg can't travel in here, can't get in here, can't be implanted here, and you can't get the baby. So that's why it's the most effective one. 2 alleles of a gene are situated at?
Not sure.
All right, so an allele, the same locus, so the same location, locus is just a location, the same locus on a different pair of homologous pair of chromosomes. So, all right, I'm not able to draw it. Wait, am I? So, let's do this. And let's do this. Allele, what's an allele?
Alternative form of a gene.
Yeah, so if it's alternative form of a gene, it has to be the same gene. So if the gene is located here on this chromosome, the gene is also going to be located here on the same chromosome. So they're located at the same place, the same locus, on a different, because this is chromosome 1, this is chromosome 2, so they are different, homologous pair. These go together, right? So you have pairs of chromosomes. So you have, how many pairs of chromosomes do you have in your body? (23). So you have 1 chromosome like this, 1 like this. You guys know the diagram for what name? For meiosis, right? You guys know the diagram for meiosis where you have metaphase and they all line up on the metaphase plate in the center. So it's the same thing. Those are homologous pairs. Yeah, so it's the same. So same locus on a different homologous pair of chromosomes. Cool. So next, refers to the following, which of the following describes the genotype shown above. So what do we see? So we have, we have a little a and a big A. So that's heterozygous, correct. So the following statements about meiosis is not true. What does diploid mean? All right, when we're representing diploid, is diploid N or is it 2N? 2N. So what's haploid? N. So N is haploid, 2N is diploid. So haploid cells are gametes and diploid cells are every other cell in your body. So meiosis, does meiosis result in the production of gametes?
No.
Does meiosis result in the production of gametes?
No. No.
For gametes, what's the number of chromosomes in there?
Haploid.
Haploid. Haploid is half of the normal number of chromosomes. Why? Because if you had 46 chromosomes in a gamete, when you have a sperm plus another egg, 46 plus 46 is how much?
92.
Yeah, that's literally 4n. That's twice the number of the normal chromosomes. So it has to be half. 23 plus 23. And then you're reestablishing the normal when they combine. So you're getting 46, right? So meiosis. Meiosis is half in the count, right? At the end, you get 4 daughter cells, true or false?
True.
And they're not identical. So meiosis halves the count. So it results in the production of gametes. You get gametes if you have meiosis, so that's true. Causes haploid cells to form from diploid cells, true or false?
Haploid.
It causes N to result from 2N, true or false?
That false.
That's true. Remember what we said? How many daughter cells result from meiosis?
4.
4. And what kind of cells are those? Haploid or diploid? They're haploid. They're all haploid. They're all haploid. So yeah, perfect. To form from diploid cells, we know that those are both true. It doubles the number of chromosomes in gametes, true or false? What does it do?
Half.
It halves it. So, and we know it allows for genetic variation via what process?
Meiosis
Yeah, but what in meiosis allows for genetic variation?
or mutation.
No, not mutation. There's a specific process that occurs.
Variation, not sure.
Crossing over. You guys know about crossing over?
Yes, sir.
What stage does it occur at?
Which stage in meiosis?
Yeah.
The prophase?
Which one? Prophase 1 or 2? I think it's prophase 2, but you guys can look it up. 2 goats. Look it up. Actually, look it up and type it in the chat, please, because that's important. 2 goats heterozygous for fast growth rate are crossbred. Percentage of the F1 population which possesses homozygous alleles is. So when you cross 2 heterozygotes, how many are going to be homozygous?
1.
1. All right, I'm going to do the Punnett square. All right. So I'm going to do the Punnett square now. So let's just use F, right? I'm not going to do the full steps, but of course, when you're doing it, always do your full steps. We're just going to cross 2 heterozygotes. So we have at the top, we'll put in male, at the bottom, we'll put in female. Sorry, we have F, small f. Sorry guys, it's very hard to write with this computer. F and small f. So what do we get here? Big F. Big F. What do we get here? Big F. Little f. What do you get here? Big F. Sorry, we get small f, small f. Small f, small f. And what do we get here? Big F, little f. So in all the homozygous ones that we have are big F, and we have a small f, right? So that's 50%. What you were thinking, I'm sure you did it. Well, that's why you need to always do the test cross. You were just looking at the two small f's, right? You're just looking at the small f's, but the big f's are also homozygous. Yeah? So 50%. So 55. Albinism is caused by a single recessive allele. Two normal parents have an albino child. This is because A. Which of the following options correctly describes DNA, chromosome, gene, and allele? We're on the last lap, by the way, guys. So everybody, please answer. Please give an answer. All right, let's look. Deoxyribonucleic acid that has all genetic information, smallest unit of inheritance, unit that codes for a specific protein, DNA plus protein. All right, so let's skip that. So all right, let's all right, which one of these do you definitely know the definition of?
Allele and
Allele. So allele, alternative form of a gene. So which ones are ruled out? Which ones can we rule out?
A and B, A and C.
Which ones can we rule out? Which ones are not the answer?
D and B.
B and D. Definitely not the answer. All right, which one of these do we definitely know the answer of as well?
Gene.
Gene. So what's a gene? Gene, genotype, remember, same thing. This is literally the definition I gave you for genotype.
What is in here?
What was the definition I given you for a genotype?
The one that the gene that is expressed.
No. For a genotype, I said it's what codes for a specific protein or the genetic makeup of an organism.
Yes.
So the answer for this would be A. So what does DNA mean? What do the letters D and A mean?
What is here?
Deoxyribonucleic acid. Yeah. Let's continue. In which of the stages shown in the diagram can insulin be produced by the bacterium? We just went over this.
Is it one?
Pardon me?
IV?
This is what you said, IV?
Sir, I said 1%.
All right, so which one is the bacteria? All right, so let's label. What's this? What's this? What's this? This is a chromosome. It's just pulled out. What's this?
Is it
What?
a flow?
This is a chromosome. What's this?
Gene?
That's a gene. All right, so let's start from here. What's this?
The bacteria.
All right, what a plasmid is just how the bacteria stores its DNA, right? So this is how this is the bacteria's DNA. So what's this?
Chromosome
Try again.
or plus.
Plasmid. So this is the part of the this right here, what you're doing, you're cutting out a piece of the plasmid. So this, you're taking this and putting it here. This gene from the human, this is the gene that says produce insulin. You're cutting it out off here and putting it on here. Understood? So all that's happening is, say this is the part with the gene for the human, you're cutting it off, and then you're taking this gene and you're putting it right in here. So this is the final product. So what is this?
So IV.
Yeah, what's this thing?
Is it the insulin?
What does it look like?
It look like the blood.
Looks like the plasmid. It's still a plasmid. You're correct. But what's the difference between this plasmid at 3 and this plasmid right here?
The plasmid at 3 has the increase of human gene.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. Perfect. So this is the plasmid with the human gene. This is the plasmid that's cut out. So at the end, when you finish combining the plasmid with the human gene, then you're putting it into the bacteria. So if this bacteria now has a gene to produce insulin, where would you say is a part that's producing insulin? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
4.
4. Because this bacteria now has a gene that allows it to produce insulin. This bacteria didn't, but this bacteria does. Let's continue. A species is best defined as a group of organisms that.
Oh, D.
B?
D.
D. Produce fertile offspring. Which of the following is true about natural selection and artificial selection? Does artificial selection occur in natural populations? Guys, when you get the question, you can't just freeze. You have to just start. You have to just start working on it. You know, the answer will come to you. So does artificial selection occur in natural populations?
Yes, sir.
Artificial selection, artificial, natural. Does artificial selection occur in natural population?
No, sir.
They're different words. Natural selection occurs in natural populations. Artificial selection is not natural. Artificial selection, you're controlling it. So A is out. Just because of this, A is out. All right, B, natural selection. Does natural selection involve genetic modification? Natural selection involves genetic modification. All right, let's skip that one. Is artificial selection largely controlled by the environment?
No, sir.
No. So without even saying anything about the genetic modification, we can skip it based solely on this. Does artificial selection, all right, let's do this one. Is natural selection a fast process?
No.
So what's the answer? C. Cool. So as soon as you read the question, you just start thinking about it, actively thinking about it. So you don't just wait and then or you just start giving answers, you just start reasoning it out immediately. Which of the following statements about genetic engineering and natural selection is correct? What do you guys think?
A.
True, I agree. Does genetic engineering change the genotype?
Yes.
Does natural selection change the genotype? All right, let's not say that. All right, we already asked that. All right, genetic engineering does change the genotype. We know that. So it's A. So that's 60. So that's 2 papers that we've covered, and I believe I've kind of showed you guys how to answer these. So guys, when you're answering these, there's sometimes by the way they put the answer, you can tell that certain things are wrong, right or wrong. So again, when we're looking at this question, number of legs, hair, and color shape, when we're differentiating them, all of these are kind of non-specific. This is a specific biology style answer. So sometimes, again, you don't always have to know everything. Sometimes you don't always have to know everything, but just the way how they ask the question, it can really help. Do you guys want to do maybe like 15 questions of this paper? Because it's now 1:03 p.m. So that's kind of supposed to be the end. So do you guys want to do like maybe 15 questions of this paper, 2017? Or do you guys want to end here and I just give general advice? General advice on the paper. Yeah, answer?
So probably
Probably what? Can you repeat?
The 50.
All right, let's do 15. Which of the following features used to classify a group as insecta? Segments. Yeah, let's move kind of quickly. Which of the following options correctly describes a niche and a habitat?
A.
Correct. Which of the following relationships may present harm to one of the organisms involved?
C.
C, 2 and 3. Correct. Identify a herbivore, carnivore, and omnivore respectively are. So we don't even have to look up here. What's the herbivore? Find a herbivore, find a carnivore, and find an omnivore.
A.
A. Which of the following organisms are most important in biodegradation? A. Which of the following is not true about decomposers? All right, guys, we're not sure of the answer, right? So how are we gonna answer this? They release nutrients for recycling, true or false?
True, sir.
Which is not true. So we know the answer is definitely not this. they reproduce faster in lower temperatures. True or false? Do we know? Is this a yes or no? We're trying to move quickly, guys. So is this a yes or no? We know that they reproduce faster in lower temperatures. Do you know that for certain?
Not really.
All right, so we skip that one for now. They are more abundant in damp places. Where do you find a lot of fungus growing? Damp, or where do you find a lot of fungus and bacteria and stuff like that? Damp places or hot places? Damp. So we know that this is definitely true. They prevent the accumulation of dead organic matter. Do we think that that's true or false? Do we know for certain? True. True or false? Repeat. You were saying to me. I can't hear. Yeah, I can't really hear.
So I was saying.
All right, true. So yeah, so we find B. Things don't reproduce faster in lower temperatures. That's just not how things work. No, let's just say that's just not a very optimal. Low temperatures are not optimal for life, and life involves reproduction. So things do not reproduce optimally at low temperatures. The predators in the food web are, what do we call a predator? So let's look at the numbers. So can one be included? One is a plant. Can one be included? It's a predator.
No.
One is a plant, so we can't have one. So we cross this out already. Let's look at 3 now. 3 is what? 3 is a consumer, right? But it's a herbivore. So we'll call 3 a predator. I wouldn't call it a predator either. So anything with 3, we're crossing out. So what are we left with? 5 and 6. What's 5? Eats this. 6 eats this. You see, we just run into it really quickly. Only about 10% of the energy stored in food is available to the next organism in a food chain because I told you guys this before. Repeat.
A.
Which is following is the main advantage of recycling?
C.
We did that one. Which of the following statements best outlines why the coral reefs in the Caribbean are at risk? All right, we're not sure, right? Are we sure or we're not sure? We're not sure? You can just say something in the chat. Or you can just unmute your mic. So if we're not sure, right? Best describes why coral reefs are at risk. So why would a coral reef be at risk? There has been a decrease in the volume of sewage flowing into the reefs. A decrease in sewage. So if there was less sewage, then the coral reef wouldn't be at risk because the sewage is bad for the coral reef. So we can cross this one out. There have been many hurricanes in the Caribbean. I guess coral reefs actually help mitigate against hurricane damage. So I would cross this one out for hurricanes. Overfishing of invasive species. Overfishing would be kind of like something that you'd want to say would damage it, but invasive species, so species that don't belong. So again, I would take this one out And then what am I left with? Caribbean is a popular tourist destination. That's the one I would put, because I mean, when they come here, they kind of damage the coral a lot. So it's either between B or C, and I would put B. But if you disagree, then you just disagree. And yeah, we did this question already. 1980 to 1989. What was the answer?
Increase in contraceptive.
There's an extra answer here, though. Yeah, so what do we think is the answer?
So it would be IV. I.
What do we think, A, B, C, or D? So what do we notice about the population? The population is increasing or decreasing?
Decrease.
So increasing contraceptives, would that increase or decrease the population? If people start using more condoms and birth controls, is that going to increase or decrease the population?
Decrease.
Decrease. Epidemic of a deadly disease. COVID, did COVID increase or decrease the population?
Decrease.
Decrease. Increase in migration. If people are moving away, is that going to increase or decrease the population? If people are leaving, is that going to increase or decrease the population in an area?
Decrease.
Decrease. So the last thing that we have is decrease in fatal crimes. If less people are dying, is that going to increase or decrease the population? It's going to increase it. So that what we're left with is C. So what compared to a cheeks, when compared to a cheeks to the muscle contains more?
C.
Why?
Because it
Because?
It has there's
Yeah, there's more activity, correct. The part labeled X is the?
C.
All right, let's kind of zoom in. See. Yeah. Do bacteria have nuclei?
No, sir.
Correct. They don't have vacuoles. Strand of DNA. So what would you describe this as? That's just the cytoplasm with the ribosomes. What is the cell wall of a bacteria made of? Do you know? It's made of peptidoglycans. It's made of peptidoglycans. Just following comparisons of the cell wall and cell membrane is incorrect.
D.
Correct. Which the following correctly identifies the process occurring above?
B.
For this, for B, for 15?
Oh, C.
You were asking if this could be B?
Oh, no, sir. I'm talking about 15.
Oh, 15. What are we looking at? What is moving? Water. Water is moving, right? So it has to be osmosis. So A and B are ruled out. A and B are ruled out, right? So it has to be either C or D. So it's osmosis, and osmosis involves, from you see sugar moving, that's wrong. Osmosis involves water moving from dilute to concentrated. So the answer is C. So that's 15. All right, so that's it. So in general, how are you feeling for the exam coming up? Do you feel confident?
So can you repeat?
How do you feel for the exam coming up? Because we're done now, so I'm just gonna maybe give you a bit of generalized advice.
Sir, feel somewhat good.
You should be fine. You should honestly be fine. We've gone over the papers, you did pretty well. What I would say in general is to just make sure you spend a bit of time. Don't just, when you read a question and you're not sure, don't just freeze. You have to kind of go through and find what you know from what you don't know, differentiate what you know from what you don't know, and try to work out the question based on what you actually know. Because sometimes the answer will just reveal itself eventually. All right. So yeah, you can end the recording now. That's it. Well, thanks everybody for coming out. Everybody came out, thanks for coming out. Thanks in New Jamaica Foundation for allowing us to put on this marathon. It's the end of the biology series. I wish you all the best in your exams. And I hope everybody gets the one. Yeah. Bye, guys.